All right, let's go. We're going to talk about professional agility and adaptability. Oh, we need it today, huh? This is for women docs. We're going to talk about how we can build our ability to change in this environment of healthcare. So let's go. So let's think about the amazing Jane Goodall. She says, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." So let's go. Let's just honor her. She passed recently. Amazing person. So we're going to talk about agility quotient, EQ and IQ, how they all relate, when we should change, how to influence change, how to build a culture of design and learning. Let's go. So agility quotient, what are we even talking about? It's just the ability to move quickly and easily is what Webster says. But we're talking about in healthcare. In healthcare, we need to balance these three things: our ability to change, our ability to be intelligent, the IQ, our ability for EQ to have emotional intelligence in the situation of ourselves and our team members. So when do we need to change? It's Monday. It's a fresh start. You're looking for a fresh start. As women docs, we hit a lot of what they call pain points, so frustrations with the ability to, get new jobs, to get promotions, to get leadership positions, to get paid evenly with male counterparts, to get any kind of developmental opportunities. And then there's competition. There's always competition in the workplace and relevance. How do we stay relevant? How do we stay informed? How do we stay top of our game? So there's a lot of reasons that we may be thinking about changing or that we actually really need to change. So how can we do that? What is the design? Is there a way that we can design agility in our everyday life? Well, there's one thing we can do is have a vision. What is that pie in the sky, dream that we have? If it's about building a team, it's a project at work, it's you personally as a woman doc. What do you want as a woman doc? What would you love to have more in your life of? What's possible? Who have you seen do amazing things? What's the strategy that could help you get there? What's the approach? Like, how's it going to look if you do want to change? Then how are you going to iterate? Because maybe you're going to try something, you don't like it, you're going to have to change it a little bit. These are all the pieces and parts of agility, of just staying loose. Then you can take a deep breath and think, what is today? But what if? What if I could do this? What if I built these skills and I could get here? What if I met more people that were doing something that I would love to do? What is working? What is not working? Where could you go? So you're designing your future on purpose. You're not just jumping into someone else's shoes and says, in the first 5 years of your career, you do this. In the next 10 years, you do this. If you want to be a researcher, you do this. If you're a clinician, you do this. And those are your only options. So I think that, showing people opportunities for just options, for freedom, for flexibility, to beat that isolation that can come with being a woman doc, to beat that just distracted life, just trying to throw yourself into the middle of answering all those messages and seeing the amount of patients or doing surgery, what have you, being on call. There's just a lot of moving parts, right? When do we ever slow down and just design our future on purpose? We can. Today's the day, right? So what pieces do we need to build and just assess? Like, where are we now? Are there any of these boxes in here that we need to build more skills in so that we can stay agile? Maybe you're really good at communication, but executing is harder for you. You're more of a big picture person. That's how I am. So the details are always the challenge for me. We know our culture, maybe your culture in your workplace is one that the people that are changing things are the ones that are stamped a leader, that have high level leadership positions. But you have ideas for change. So you want to adjust the culture, or you want to be a change maker, and work through the channels in your workplace. So maybe you have to know more about your culture, and maybe you have to, also build your collaboration, the box next to it. So what could work to keep people agile, to keep people changing, to keep people able to navigate quickly in a time of healthcare where there's a lot of changes and a lot of threats to what it is like now today. Um, so whenever we're thinking about change, we have to acknowledge that there will be emotions related to change. There's no question, right? So just number one is showing up, and the emotions will also come along. They will show up. So if you're new at something, you could put in the chat right now what you're new at. I'm new in pottery. So the teacher comes around and she looks at my things. She goes, well, that happened. So, just be new at something. It doesn't feel good, but I'm there and I'm trying. So I have to acknowledge those feelings and experiences of the newcomer or the person who's trying to change. There are emotions that will come with change. And there's a wonderful researcher by the name of Dr. Susan David who laid out like some of tools that we can use for emotionally regulating ourselves during change. And one of them is just acknowledging that we have emotions during change and we have these feelings, we're going to have these experiences, and we're going to make value aligned choices. We don't lash out when we're angry or scared or fearful. There's so many things happening in our country today. People are very fearful. But again, we have to keep reminding ourselves of our values and stick to our values so that we can be active in the areas of our lives that align with our values. So these are some phrases that are recommended for emotional regulation during change. So when something changes at work, you might notice you're having some feelings. We can think of it like the weather, like that little emoji there. It's like, oh, I notice I feel frustrated when I enter this meeting because we're going to talk about this change, or I'm having a thought that this new change is not going to work. And I'm just annoyed by it. And so we have to just see. We're just being the observer. We're just seeing these things. So we pause. That's the recommendation is pause before you take an action. Just take a minute to notice or to call them thoughts. You're not going to say, I am angry. It's like, I notice I feel angry. It puts a little level of like observation there so that you know you can gain some more control. And this will help us build our EQ so that we can rock our AQ. So the goal is a little space between our emotions and our thoughts and then actions. Not always easy. This blew my mind. The 5 reasons why all of us or most of us are resistant to change and what can come up every time we need to change something. These 5 things can be involved. It's crazy. It just blew my mind because I thought she was really on. She hit the nail on the head with these. So this is Dr. Susan David. She listed these 5 reasons that your team may be saying, yeah, let's do this change, let's do it. But there may be something we're not acknowledging, and you don't see them taking action, but they're saying the words like, yeah, we're going to get this done and we're going to do it. And then yet it's just not happening. So it might be one of these 5 things or all 5 of these things is that whenever we're changing, there's something we're losing. And so let's just say you got a new job, you're losing your time with maybe your past colleagues, you're losing your old office, you're losing the way you did things. Maybe it's freedom, a new job, maybe you have more meetings and more time you have to put towards something, so you've lost some freedom and your safety. So maybe we don't feel safe in a new area. We have to decide who we can trust, who's telling us the truth, who we can rely on. So we always want to make sure we're acknowledging psychological safety and physical safety always at work and home. And if it's not there, obviously that has to be addressed right away. But psychological safety in a new team, it's going to take some time to figure people out. And then status. Maybe you're making a change and you used to have a certain status and you're not going to have it anymore, or you have a different status and you're going to miss what you used to have. And then belonging again, when you join a new team, you take a new job, there's going to be something that changes and you're going to be on this new team. Like, do they accept you? Are they honest? Are they going to follow through with things? So again, we're not sure about our belonging. So that's sometimes why we won't take the leap. So these are the 5 reasons. A lot of times we're not willing to actually implement change. We can think about change. So I have women docs I coach with one-on-one, and a lot of them want to do something, but there's a gap. I want to do, there's a lot of talk and planning, but there's not the implementation. So we have to address these 5 things. We have to talk about each and every one of them. We all do every time we make a change because we need awareness. We need that emotional intelligence and the intellectual intelligence of what is going on during our agile times, right? So if we're trying to challenge our team, what's some language we can use to get wider thinking, even just if we're trying to challenge ourselves? In what ways might I transform this project? In what ways might I surprisingly change this team or the outcome? Why do we need to finalize the project? We absolutely need to know the meaning behind our work. Who will be helped? How will it change things? We need a purpose. We have a part of our brain that doesn't have verbal output, but it has that feeling, that fulfilled feeling, that wonderful feeling like that matters. It's just a deep feeling. We tend to, kind of hold our stomach or put our hand over our heart with that feeling because it's not a verbal part of our brain, but we know when it aligns with us. We know when it has meaning for other people, when we can make an impact. And we absolutely have to have that with our change in some ways, even if it's a small team. And we also then need to put the implementation, the roadmap into place. How will it happen? What are the action steps? Who's on the team? What skills do we need? What do we need? Are there skills we need to build? Anything else we need to make this happen? So how can we even more so influence change and enhance agile change? Again, we have to know where we want to go. So we have to have that vision. Absolutely, that has to be there, because how can we make a plan if we don't know where we want to get to? We have to know what's important to our team today and tomorrow. We have to know how valuable it is and who thinks it's valuable and what we're working on, who are our allies towards the change. And then the roadmap, like what steps are we going to take here? Who's doing what? When are things due? We want a lot of clarity there because that also is where psychological safety sits. So if we are very vague on why you're on the team, what the mission of the team is, what the team is doing, where are the products due, when, who gets them, what happens if you don't do it. If all of that's vague, that is not psychological safety. We like to have a plan and to have clarity. So a lot of times that's another reason people aren't taking action is there's not clarity. And then what are the clear results? What are we after? We have a vision, but what are the steps along the way we're going to check in on? And clarify everybody's expectations again, just to beef up that psychological safety level. Because once we feel safe, then our prefrontal cortex can work, and that's our big thinking place where we can assimilate data and come up with great decisions and great ideas. So what could success look like? We take some time to design. We connect these systems. We talked about a lot of skills that may need to be built on the team. Focus on the process. And then that keyword is iterate. We're going to probably change things and just build this culture of learning. That's okay that we changed. We had a plan. We had a clear strategy and we had a vision and we tried things and it didn't work. So what can we change? What can we iterate? Or it worked, but we hoped for more. What can we change? So we want to build that culture of learning, and just honor, that change is rocky and, there may be some bumps along the way. Of course, nothing's going to go perfectly. So women docs, you got this. There are 5 reasons that we may avoid change or plan it and not take action. So I thought those are so insightful. So put your favorite one in the comment and like and subscribe here so you can get more of my videos. And thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good day.